What's up, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of Westworld Season 3, Episode 7, Past Pawn. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell top to find out what's coming next, and of course, comment below on any videos you watch my channel. So, here we are. We're officially at the penultimate episode of Westworld Season 3. Westworld Season 3 has been very interesting because it has been mostly great. Last episode was not that great. It was actually quite underwhelming. And this episode is much better. Not by much, but it is much better of an episode because we finally get some backstory. Actually, we get a lot of backstory on, of course, Aaron Paul's character, Caleb. Not everything is what it seems. And we get some cool fighting, but we get some really clunky storytelling in the process. Now, with that said, the Caleb stuff, the Caleb reveal stuff, which is pretty much the whole entire episode, is basically told through the fact of we have this thing called Solomon, which is like the Hal of this universe. He is the big spear that we've been seeing throughout the entire season. He has a very soothing voice like Hal. He has a very calming demeanor. He talks to you, but it sounds very menacing while being very computerized. And he has some interesting conversations with, of course, Delores and Aaron Paul's Caleb character. Now, I want to say all of it's interesting, but it literally serves the purpose of getting Caleb to the next story beat and point at the end of the episode to the next episode. It's basically like a part 1 of part 2 in this season finale, which is kind of crazy. But basically what they're doing is going to this headquarters of Serac, where Solomon is being housed at, and it is basically for them to basically jumpstart the end of the season, the end of the next episode, the last episode. And this is where we find pretty much everything that Caleb has been dealing with through the whole entire episode. Basically, Kid Cudi, who plays Francis, and Aaron Paul, who plays, of course, Caleb, at least I think they were in a war together. It seems like, who knows, with the whole reconditioning thing that's going on in the episode. I do like their kind of work together. I think they do work well together, but it leads into a scenario where basically Kid Cudi and Aaron Paul, Francis, and Caleb were basically reconditioned or used because of this app, because they needed work and stuff like that, to basically murder and kill people, which is what the app has been, with Marshawn Lynch and Lena Waithe. And it basically is an app that was created from Solomon. And Solomon basically used it because the Aaron Paul Caleb character was the only really true successful reconditioned person after everything he had dealt with. And so basically Aaron Paul is used, and because of everything that happens to him is why he gets to the state he's in at this current season. Which is really kind of fascinating to me when I think about it, because he was basically being used by a computer, which is what this whole season's been about computers rising up against the humanity and, free will and stuff like that. That's the reason Delores used Caleb in the way he did, because he basically was used by a computer to be kind of, fed information, to be kind of kept, in kind of a jail style setting, to be kind of being used basically like, Delores was, which is really kind of interesting when you think about it. The problem is, it doesn't really seem very interesting when you kind of look at it. So basically, he was being used, Delores found him, and they went on a basically revolution spree. And so it leads all up into this point where we've seen basically Aaron Paul's Caleb character so disheartened, so despondent because his friend was killed. And basically what was happening was Solomon was basically using Aaron Paul's Caleb and Kid Cudi's Francis against one another at the very end when they've taken hostage the Enrico character, who has a very interesting role because all the drugs that they're using in this entire episode is based off his firm, which is really kind of fascinating. I like Enrico a lot. But basically, the Enrico character says, I'll offer you $2 million to basically kill Francis. And Aaron Paul or Caleb's like, I'm not going to do that. But then he starts questioning what's going on because, Francis is becoming more and more despondent through the entire episode. There's a point where they go, oh, they'll be here in 20 minutes. And Caleb goes, you just said that 20 minutes ago, so what's going on? So you start questioning the reality of what's going on. And you come to find out, basically they went through a lot of crap in the war. A lot of his people died. And, yeah, he and Francis and Caleb are offered a lot of money to kill each other. And, of course, Caleb has to live because he's in, the entire season. So he gets the upper hand on Francis and basically kills him. So it wasn't a, like, them taking a hostage out during a war crisis. It was basically them killing each other basically because of Solomon, which is, it's kind of a mind F if you think about it. It's really messed up. I mean, there's this app that's basically using people to kill people, and that's that's why they're called outliers, because they're outlying the system and stuff like that. And it's really interesting because it plays more in effect of Delores and Caleb and stuff like that. And then when you get to the big warehouse sequence where Caleb is starting to unravel and he's starting to kind of have that brain pop and stuff like that, it's you kind of feel bad for the guy because he went through a lot of crap. He killed his own like one of his good friends because of some stupid computer app or something like that. And that's kind of a take on this society now. But when they get to the warehouse, when they get to Solomon, which contains basically Serac's brother, who was a schizophrenic, who's been confirmed as schizophrenia, we basically see a whole mess of like tubes and people in coffin style things, kind of similar to like Minority Report with the whole where they put in the stasis chambers and stuff like that. And we learn basically these people were the ones that didn't succeed in the Outlier program. The Outlier program was going to be used as a way for taking down whatever. It was basically like a Universal Soldier type of thing. So I thought it was a cool little nod. I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a nod to Minority Report, but it felt like kind of like a nod. And, of course, like I said, Solomon is he's basically Hal in a lot of respects. The fact that they talk to him is really interesting. He talks back, all that good stuff. And as we go back into Westworld, Delores has this like really cool weapon, which is like almost like a rail gun or just some type of weapon where she basically uses a drone to like pinpoint each and every single guard in this encampment. And she's able to allow the gun to automatically fire on each individual person. It's like a really cool piece of tech that they use in this episode that I really, really enjoyed. But it's like few and far between, like in this episode being like the greatest thing ever. But then it leads to, of course, Maeve and her like helicopter gunship or whatever, which is really cool. There's a fight between Maeve and, of course, Delores. Delores is like, we have been mistreated all our lives. And Maeve's like, I don't care. You're the problem. Some reason Maeve has a katana. I don't know. And so we have Clementine, who was in the earlier parts of this series. And it's really cool to see her come back. She's being operated by Maeve. She basically takes down Musashi, who basically killed Maeve. It's like a revenge little sequence. And so, of course, Maeve and Delores are fighting one another. We have the gunship and the rifle, both, attacking both of them. Delores loses her arm. She ends up back in the warehouse. And basically, Maeve and Delores are dead because Delores hits the EMP. What's really fascinating about that sequence is basically Solomon was getting ready to tell Caleb something, but because the EMP went off, of course he is dead or whatever for the time being. I'm not necessarily like the biggest fan of that kind of stuff because it leads into, what did he say? Okay, sure, whatever. But basically Caleb now has a thumb drive, and he, as we learned from Bernard, is basically being used by Delores to basically start a revolution to take down humanity. It makes a lot of sense because of what Caleb has gone through in this entire episode, and it's going to be a very interesting thing to see in the very season finale of this season, to see what kind of happens. I mean, you see a little bit of it in the what's next sequence at the very end of the the credits and stuff like that, and the episode becomes like really convoluted, and it becomes like really like overstuffed with just back and forth. Like, it really like makes your head spin when you're watching it. And then they had to throw in the William and the Bernard and the Ashley Stubbs characters. For some reason, they had to be in this episode because we have to finally learn what William's purpose is, which is to basically do what Serac is trying to do, is take down every single host. Effectively not making me care about William at all in this entire season, because he has literally been given the shaft, like Stubbs' character, and just not a really very interesting plot thread. It really isn't. I mean, yeah, there was some cool stuff the last week, you know, with decoherence, but this episode is just basically like a comedic joke of a character arc, and I just it's so annoying, you know, when they're figuring out that, you know, the blood of William is being basically used as a virus to kind of implant Delores into the system. And the Ashley Stubbs character, who is played by Luke Hemsworth, is just like the most laughable character at this point. He's basically like the over-the-top, overzealous, you know, host, robot, android, or whatever you want to call him. William puts him in his place, and, you know, you can't take the character serious anymore because he's just a laughing stock of a character. And I'm like so frustrated with Jeffrey Wright's Bernard character because they literally have written himself into a corner of just like nonsensical jargon. You know, he's basically there to give us information, and then he disappears, and then he may come back for some more information, but there's like no structure to his character. It almost feels like they're waiting for some big bang, some big reveal at the very end that, you know, he has a bomb in his chest or something like that, and he's going to cause a nuclear explosion. Because other than that, there's no real logic or rhyme or reason for Bernard outside of getting William outside of, you know, the big asylum that he was in. It just, I feel like they've tried to put him into a specific section of this series, and it feels like more like a character that just is not given much to do. And that's the problem with the Stubbs character and Bernard and William, is you have great actors and they're just not given anything to do. We're more focused on Caleb and Delores and Maeve and Serac, and these other characters who are actually more important than these other characters are not given anything to do. I mean, where's Tessa Thompson? Is she like recovering? Like, is her skin growing back? Which is kind of like what it looks like in the next episode. But I'm really hopeful that the season finale is going to end on a high note, because these last two episodes have just been kind of puttering along, just kind of dealing with the situations, and they're not really just like going full tilt like they did in the first, you know, 5 episodes of this series or this season. And that's a little cumbersome, a little bothersome, and just I want more out of it, you know, especially after what happened in the second season. Give us more, give us bigger stuff, bigger revelations. You've done such good content this season. Why do you keep going to these ridiculous heights for no reason? So, and once again, the episode looks gorgeous. It looks amazing. There's no, like, you know, nothing to complain about when it comes to aesthetic and stuff like that. It's directed by Helen, so I got to give her at least some credit for that. But just, I don't know. Overall, I just think this is kind of a disappointing episode. I expected more. I expected a lot more. And we got some cool revelations, but it really does feel like that we were expecting maybe way too much, and we're not getting that, what we were expecting, or at least what we were promised. And I almost feel like the Caleb stuff could have been a little more interesting than it really was. But I mean, overall, it's definitely a much better episode than Decoherence, which is, you know, a really low point in the entire season, I think. So, but that'll do it. That'll be my take on Past Pawn. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Please hit that subscribe button. Enjoy Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. And, of course, comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. Otherwise, see you guys on the next video. Peace out.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.